Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Twister, and today I'm bringing you another video, and this is going to be my first video regarding GTA 5 on the PC, as I'm going to be giving you guys a breakdown and comparison on the controller versus mouse and keyboard for playing GTA Online on the PC. So while a few of you guys might be wondering whether you should be getting a controller to play on the PC if you already use a mouse and keyboard, while some of you might be thinking I'm absolutely retarded even bothering to compare a controller to the superior mouse and keyboard controls. But I think you guys might be surprised with some of the points that I'll make in this video, and obviously you guys are more than welcome to discuss it down in the comments below. But we'll get straight into this now. I've played GTA 5 on the PC a lot more recently, and I first played it with a mouse and keyboard to get used to the controls, see whether I liked it, see if I could get used to it, and then I went ahead and bought a controller to basically just compare the differences and see how they both worked. So first up with mouse and keyboard, I think we can all agree that it's a lot better for shooting and aiming. A prime example of this is playing something like Counter-Strike. When it all comes down to aim, you can't play that game with a controller against people using a mouse and keyboard, because you will just get annihilated. The mouse movement and actual aiming, you get a full range of movement on a mouse that you can't get on a controller. So I think we can pretty much all agree that when it comes down to aiming, shooting, and drive-by shooting in particular, the mouse is definitely superior to a controller. And like I said, you guys are more than welcome to prove me wrong, but obviously you guys are entitled to your own opinions. That is more of an opinion, but also sort of factual. I think, like I said, most of us will be able to agree on that. For shooting, it definitely comes down to using a mouse and keyboard. However, when it comes to driving, I think this is where things get a little bit closer in terms of GTA. So I actually did some tests on this, and I think you guys will be quite intrigued with the results. So to fully test out the keyboard controls versus the controller controls and how they do in regular racing, I decided to test them out on cutting corners, doing 15 laps with each. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a second, this track looks pretty familiar. I'm pretty sure someone's already done this, and yes, Bruffy has pretty much drove every car in the game around this track to do lap times on each car's performance. So this is kind of just a nod to that cool series that he did with all the cars, but I'm just comparing specifically the keyboard controls and the controller controls. So first off, this is the best lap time I got with the keyboard, and it's pretty quick. You know, obviously you can go a lot quicker, but this was just for comparison purposes, not trying to get the best time possible. And for regular racing, I'd say the keyboard is more than fine. You know, you don't obviously get the full range of movement using the WASD keys as you get on a analog stick, but for regular racing, like I said, it's more than fine. When I first got the game, I still dominated races using the keyboard against people that were using controllers at the time, and obviously that's mainly because I've done a lot of racing, and a lot of racing is learning how the cars handle and stuff like that, rather than actually having good controls and obviously using a controller. And as you'll see, when we get to the controller lap time, I go quicker by about 0.2 of a second. So the lap time for the keyboard was a 52.118 lap time, and I don't go that much quicker in a controller. So obviously I do think the controller is overall better, but like I said, not by much. In public lobbies, it's not going to matter. The overall slight difference isn't going to matter. I think the main area where the control becomes a lot more superior is when you're doing either crazy races like stunt races and ramp races, where you need really slight movements and accuracy when going at ramps, or if you're doing really high level competitive racing against obviously higher level opponents that are obviously going to be using a controller. So that's where you're mainly going to want to use it. And to be honest, I think the main benefit that a controller has over the keyboard controls is the actual throttle control. So races where there's a lot of bumps and you need to be able to manage the throttle to go over the bumps without spinning out, that's where you're going to want to use a controller. And as you can see, the lap time there was a 51.873, so only about 0.2 of a second quicker than the keyboard. So yeah, getting back to it, I think the main area where a controller is going to be more beneficial is races with a lot of bumps, or races where you really need high accuracy movement and really slight adjustments to be really accurate around corners or going around ramps and stuff like that, if you guys really like the crazy stunt races. that's where you're going to want a controller for the really slight movements and slight accurate adjustments, because you just can't do that with the keyboard keys. It's just one type of movement. You're either going all the way to the left when you steer or all the way to the right, unless you want to really tap it, but that can really make your fingers ache after a while. So I think for racing, the controller does have a lot of its advantages, but you can definitely manage with the keyboard controls if you're just racing in public lobbies more than fine. So for the final verdict, what is actually better? Is it better to use a keyboard and mouse, or is it better to use a controller? And the perfect answer to that is neither of them. Neither of them are better than the other. And the great thing about playing GTA Online on the PC is that if you have your controller plugged in, as well as when you're using the mouse and keyboard, you can switch between the two controls flawlessly. So if you want to play in free roam and use the mouse and keyboard, if you're shooting up other players online, and then if you start up a race, you want to switch to the controller, you can do that absolutely flawlessly. What you can even, just to prove how flawlessly it is, you can use both of them at the same time if you really want. You can be holding the right trigger on your controller to accelerate your car, and then you can have your other hand on the keyboard pressing the WASD keys to move your car. It is literally that perfect in how flawlessly the two methods of control work with each other. So that's the verdict. You know, if you've got a controller and you've got obviously the mouse and keyboard controls, you can switch between them flawlessly, and that is exactly what I do. Obviously in races I do prefer to use a controller for the points I mentioned, the accuracy and the movement and the throttle control, which is really important. But then in stuff like free mode, I think the mouse and keyboard controls are a lot more fun to use, and especially in stuff like death matches where it all comes down to aim. So there's the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the breakdown and comparison of the mouse and keyboard versus the controller. And obviously let me know your thoughts in the comments below, as I'd love to see if you guys prefer either one, and obviously what arguments for each control method you guys have. And like I said, it's obviously open to discussion in the comment section. So there we go. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like rating, and if you do want to see more videos from me, definitely hit the subscribe button, and I'll hopefully see you all in my next video. See you later, guys.